The last stream I uploaded was the Sacred Serpent and the Pagan to Christian conversion. What soon followed was a full-on submission to a deep rest that my soul could no longer ignore. I had grown weary and tired to the point of a certain mania that only the pilgrims could truly understand. It's true, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and the closer you get to God, the greater the friction you feel within a world that's torn by tragedy. A paradox resemblant of a sentiment recently shared with me through a Christian woman who said, "The closer you get to the cross, the more you will be attacked by the enemies of God." I understood this seed of truth and was simultaneously puzzled at how one can be so right and yet so wrong all at the same time. Such is the nature of blind obedience to a counterfeit story, I suppose. Luckily, I can always manage to mine the meaning within the subversion because I know there's always an origin of truth within all stolen material. This is the madness of blood memory and being awakened within a dream. In my prior stream, I intended to draw a link between the Hyperborean folk and dragon magic. Utterly fantastical, I know, and yet riveting when you listen and allow the symbols to resurface within your ancient mind that drowned in the submergence of catastrophe. What I didn't know at the time of making that video was that a part 2 was brewing in my hibernation state, inspired by a most curious prompting that would lead me to the enemy's gate. What I would come to soon find is that the great dragon was somehow guiding me to retrieve the keys to this lost serpent gnosis. I would grow to see just how critical it is in the overall resurgence of the Hyperborean memory. I just want to give y'all a little backstory on how this symbol, this essence, has been with me from the beginning of my own story. I was born as a twin in a dragon year. As I got older and ripened in my soul, it became clear to me that this symbol of times past served as a sacred guide to me, spiritually offering forth guidance from the distance of a forgotten world. A lot of truths I share about my distinct story is symbolic, as I am sure every pilgrim can discern. Through my polar initiation after my dark night of the soul, I became inundated with the gnosis of the dragon. I began to see how the supreme being withheld a key of the greater mystery and the Hyperborean lost memory. A dragon is a solar being of immense mastery, for it is a being that has mastered the elemental Orphic alchemy. In golden ages past, Aryans knew well of their intimate connection to this great being, an ancient memory that is all but lost on the now, but resurrecting in the storm of the moment. The dragon can be seen as an entity, as an essence, as a key to the forgotten memory. And there's a reason why this specific symbol, this specific archetypal energy has been intimately linked to the Aryan folk. And it goes much deeper than anyone knows. Being born in the year of the dragon, I have always felt intimately connected to this ancient being of great mystery. I've always felt this deep primal connection to this essence, right? And, there was a particular year, right? 2018, where I felt its revival birth within me. And I wasn't the only one who felt it. I remember where I was with who I was with and the beings within my field who also felt this dragon revival. We started to see it everywhere, right? We started to see it at festivals. We started to see it at, just out and about in society. Its resurrection was collectively felt. I felt like I was pulling from it these lost codes, these lost keys, and this being just felt central to that awakening, to that beckoning that was happening within my spirit. And like I said, it wasn't just happening to me. I was witnessing it happening to people within my field, to people within my experience, wherever I went. And so this was the year 2018. And in this year, congruently, I would go on to experience a he, she, love alchemy that would totally alter the entirety of my reality, right? It would bring me to a dark night of the soul, an intense alchemy of the soul. And like I said, the dragon was this being where all of this experience was being pulled from. right? It felt like the source of this intense alchemy that was going on not only for me internally, but for the whole collectively. During the time of my dragon initiation, I would go on to experience an otherworldly love that felt like a return to all that has been lost. It was here where I began to understand the alchemy of love that is destined for the masters of this story. I somehow knew all of this through the power of this love before ever having read the sacred scripts of Amor, before ever being able to put into words the immense magic of navigating the satanic realm through blood memory. This great love that felt ancient would go on to break me through the ultimate betrayal. O gods lost in the universes, who can discern the meaning of the recounter of a he detached from he-she, with the she detached from she-he? Tears like planets fall from the eyes and hearts of the pilgrims, hero and goddess. In that bleak, empty, dark, hollow pit that I seem to be marinating within, I came across through, a higher guidance to the work of Maestro Miguel Serrano, right? The gnosis of Amor just presented itself to me via magnetism during this extremely challenging time in my life. And it was like everything within his scripts paralleled to the experience that I had just went through, as if offering from somewhere outside of time the keys to understanding this intense soul alchemy that I was undergoing. And it's just undeniable, right? Undeniable. So in tune, so aligned, so real, so raw. You can't. It's just when a coincidence is impossible and you recognize with absolute certainty that you are living through the essence of divine synchronicity, right? It was like I had just been shattered through this intense love alchemy after being inundated by this dragon energy, okay, that led me to this dark night of the soul, this solitude of like, what the fuck just happened? And then I was led to the work of the maestro, right? The Grail guide, who gave me the gnosis that my soul needed, that my soul bled for, to understand what I had just underwent, what I had just experienced. I fully immersed into his word. And it was like nothing I had ever read before. And yet somehow I had always known. It was a return in every sense of the word. I came to realize that I was undergoing my polar solar initiation, right? The return to the memory of my highest self. And this was following on the wings of my reclamation of my mythos through Thea, the reclamation of Thea. And it was just all in alignment. It was like, it was a story. It was chapter by chapter, this great awakening, this great return, this sequence of events that was leading to something grand that I had felt throughout the entirety of my life, but was somehow being, sharpened with clarity in the intensity of my awakening, because awakening is painful. It's painful. It's not the way the New Age promotes it. It's so beyond what most people present it as, because it's a complete destruction of your matrix self and that false identity. It's the complete annihilation of the world in which you thought you knew, and it takes everything with it, and all you have is yourself. But in that critical moment, I'm so grateful, though I know it was my destiny, to come upon the work of the maestro, right? Without his word, I truly would be lost, because he gifted me an anchor when I felt that I had lost it all. The thing about Master Miguel Serrano's work is that I believe for the initiates, it impacts each one of us differently. in that it offers us individual keys that are central to the understanding of the overall story. And so for me, right, for Thea, who is Lady of the Ether, it would then go on to make perfect sense why I was gifted with a diamond of clarity in relation to dragon energy, right? Because dragons are masters of alchemy, right? They are masters of the ether. Dragon energy is God energy, a divine entity of great mastery, lord of the elements, and therefore a master of the he, she, yin-yang alchemics of all creation. The great serpent of the ether. There is a sacred formula that is the composition of creation's purest design, a formula that sustained the first world of Hyperborea, paradise. This sacred formula has been lost with the submergence of Hyperborea in past catastrophes. The sacred formula is the harmony of elemental frequencies, a formula that begets ether, vril, the lost magic of eternity. This force is conjured only by the love of the gods, the 12 masters of Ilu, the 6 feminine and 6 masculine archetypes of the zodiac. They are the imprisoned gods. They are the dream elves of the great dragon, the Orphic masters of divinity, separated in Kali's duality, destined for the Hyros Gamos he-she alchemy of the New Earth golden dream. This is the Hegel and Venus alchemy of the ages. This is why the cross is so symbolic, because though appropriated by Christianity, it is a sacred symbol that visually represents the composition of the spiritual and physical world, that which is composed of by earth, air, fire, and water. When these elements are fused by like frequencies in divine harmony, we attain high heart harmonics, 0-point energy. We restore ether. Odin sacrificed himself on the world tree Yggdrasil, symbolized by the cross, which is really the sacred swastika, Hegel, to uncover the lost gnosis of the runes. The runes are solar symbols of this cosmic alchemy, the lost language of the giants, the titans of old, the ancient pagan pantheon, the fallen angels, the Nephilim who are now the degenerated dragon race of paradise, the Hyperborean, Aryans, born of Venus fire. This is the gnosis that was demolished with the fallen temples of the ancient Aryan folk. This is the sacred solar serpent energy that submerged with the Serapeum in times past. The hidden gnosis of the burning ones, the light bearers of dawn. This is why the enemy rages against these particular themes. It seems fantastical because it is. The holiest of all truth will eternally be far stranger than fiction. It is so challenging to humanize this gnosis without sounding absolutely crazy, because we're talking about fantastical beings here, right? Everybody, almost everybody, believes that dragons are a fantasy, something that you see in comic books and, in make-believe, in the land of make-believe. But, there's a reason why in the Chinese zodiac, they have all, rooster, the rat, all these like normal creatures that we know to be true in the day-to-day. And then you got the dragon. Somewhere deep within, dragons are in actuality. It is not a fantasy, right? As I always say, fantasy is the reality that was stolen from us by the enemy. And I, like I said, believe that the dragon is a key to remembering this lost memory, this forgotten memory. And so here we are in another dragon year, right? 2024. And when you break down 2024, 2 + 2 + 4 is an 8 year, right? So it would make sense that in another dragon year, in another infinite weave, the infinite signature, I would be inundated with more memory codes directly linked to this dragon essence. And so, yeah, this is why I was prompted to make my last stream, the Sacred Serpent and the Pagan to Christian conversion. After my last video I posted, I came across a video of a man who is from a particular tribe who had just wrote a book called The Dragon Prophecy. This book directly links to everything that I just shared in the Sacred Serpent and the Pagan to Christian conversion. This man would go on to say that the sign of the dragon in culture represents the resurrection of an ancient entity that awakens within a certain people.
Behind these events, there are actual movements towards end-time prophecy. And there is a whole realm behind the world that we see. I mean, a world of determining what we're watching, the mysteries, prophecies, entities, that are part. And literally, Terry, I wasn't planning it. And I literally saw in my mind, I saw the dragon. And that's a revelation. Because the first anti-Semite was an angel, and he doesn't die. So in every generation, I mean, like we said, this is new. It's not new. This is part of an ancient war. What happened on the college campus, part of an ancient war. And this really proves the Bible. Yeah. The existence of the Jewish people proves God, but it also proves there's an enemy. And so we are actually part of it. We're watching it, but that's totally right. The enemy's a light sleeper. He's a dragon. And so we are actually watching the mystery and prophecy.
The dragon is linked to Lucifer, whom Khan refers to as the anti-Semitic angel. He proclaims that this dragon energy possesses a certain folk, and that there is a revival of this energy that is here now, encompassing the whole as we see through cinema and societal imagery. This revival is linked to an ancient mystery that is a living prophecy. The return of the dragon is a sign of blood memory awakening and affirms with time and certainty everything the maestro has revealed to us in his streams. Of course, here now convoluted to the disdain of our enemies.
You're seeing that's what happened on October. It's a rage. That's what you see all over the world. It's the dragon's rage. And you know what? In Revelation, it says that he launched a flood against the woman. And you know what that operation was called? Hamas called it the Tufan in Arabic. That's the flood of the dragon. Do you know that even the word Hamas is in the Bible? We won't be able to get into it, but it's amazing. It's in the Bible. There's so many things behind this. Even Adolf Hitler had a hand in this. I mean, we can't go through it.
A dragon is a being of tremendous energy, of both sun and lightning, an entity of black sun vril coating. This is why a dragon is both fantastically mystical and also terribly frightening. Aryans that are endowed with this otherworldly frequency are operating from a force from beyond this fallen world of materiality. This is something that can be immediately felt. People are either deeply magnetized or repulsed by the carrier of this ether frequency, and this is why the noble wolf was both immensely revered while simultaneously being deeply feared by people who were far removed from this extraterrestrial energy. The noble wolf moved with both sun and lightning. I believe Khan agrees in saying that he was connected to this mystery by suggesting that he was in some way possessed by this dragon entity. As Goebbels once affirmatively declared when referring to the noble wolf and this energy he was operating from, I quote him here: "Who can boast of having seen him as he really is? He moves in the world of the absolutely lethal. Nothing else makes sense, neither good nor evil, neither time nor space. That which he is, I am ignorant. Is he really a man? I could not ensure it. There are moments in which he causes me terror." End quote. As the initiates know, the noble wolf is an avatar that was destined to come into this world for the protection of the good and for the destruction of evil, just as Vishnu in the Bhagavad Gita, who is depicted in both benevolent and fearsome imagery throughout history. The noble wolf is an avatar of this intense alchemizing energy that can be symbolized by the dragon. As Savitri Devi has said, for leaders to impact history, they must move with both sun and lightning. This is how Vishnu pulverizes the evil in an age, a divine act of destiny that is linked to both mystery and prophecy.
And the fact that there is now a war in Israel is actually part of the mystery of the dragon. So too, the wave of anti-Israel mania that swept the world and swept America, that's also part of the mystery of the dragon. So too, what is happening in Iran. So too, what is happening in Russia. So too, what's happening in the Middle East. A sign of the dragon.
Khan describes dragon energy as an ancient force that is being resurrected within a certain people, in what his book describes as the Sea Peoples, which I suspect is just another term for Aryan, as interestingly, in the 55 Club's book, The Vinlanders, the Hyperborean Aryan people are referred to as the ANGSP, short for the ancient Northern Germanic Sea People, better known as Hyperboreans, Aryans. We know that our ancient ancestors were seafaring and that they traveled on Drakkar ships, aka dragon ships. This is all symbolic. This is all a coding that reveals a deeper truth that even this messianic author knows. He correlates this dragon energy to the noble wolf because he was a key player in conjuring this rival energy within the collective spirit of the Aryan. He sees it that this energy possesses a specific folk that I believe is obvious and goes without saying. These sea people are the descendants of whom he calls the inverted angel, aka the first anti-Semite, whom we know as Lucifer and who Christian belief conflates with Satan and the devil. It all connects. In my stream, The Sacred Serpent and the Pagan to Christian Conversion, I drew all these parallels intuitively through my blood memory, to have it later deeply affirmed by a messianic author who was prompted in the year of the dragon to write a book called The Dragon's Prophecy. I suggest anyone who feels so compelled to do some diving into this man's work, of course for educational purposes only, as you might be surprised what you may find. To understand the final battalion and the very forces that are at play within the wave of prophecy, we have to circle back to the beginning, the Hyperborean Exodus, which was said to begin in Asia Minor. This is why collectively we are continuously drawn back to this specific continent, where it all began. This is why my first word as a baby in this round was Asia, provoked by my first love of a dog, a German breed, the Doberman, whose name happened to be Asia. Unbeknownst to me at the time, this was my earliest memory of God. As Miguel Serrano says, the symbols are too intelligent to be rational. The Hyperborean story lives on in symbols and code through the expanse of time and eternity. Here, most curiously, we see its revival within the eyes of our antipode. Comrades, prepare to release the urge to be rational, because rationality is merely a symptom of this material reality. However, fantasy is alive and well in the dragon's blood of the Venusian, resurrecting and awakening through the conjuring of a solar body that is directly linked to our extraterrestrial lineage. To the enemy, this revival feels like rage, because the false world that he reigns trembles in its wake.
What is a dragon? It's an imaginary beast, but in the Bible, it's a symbol. It's a sign. The word dragon appears in the Bible in the Greek, drakon. It's used to translate a Hebrew word that appears in the Hebrew scriptures. That Hebrew word for dragon is the word tanim. It can mean dragon. It can mean monster. It can mean creature. It can mean serpent.
As I went over in The Sacred Serpent and the Pagan to Christian Conversion, Part 1, dragons and serpents are one and the same, in that they are of a like energetic template that is of an ancient force from beyond this world. This is why the serpentine symbol is often found in artifacts of antiquity, such as the serpent staffs and headdresses we've seen in the Serapeum of Alexandria. This ancient dragon force is something cosmic, astral, and overall spiritual. This energy is a Latin coding that lie in the blood of the Aryan. Within the tides of prophecy, this force is resurfacing within the ancient folk who are linked to this greater mystery, as explained here by this author. The dragon and the Hyperborean are intimately connected, which is why I have referred to the Aryan race as a dragon race, as curiously, their original blueprint was composed of an etheric code that directly links to the hidden sun, aka the Black Sun. This means the Aryans were originally designed through an Orphic formula that is native to the Hyperboreans, the Titans of old, those who long ago came from another world. The he-she-love alchemy that is central to their higher design can be symbolically seen through many phonetic codes we see throughout history, such as the yin-yang, infinity symbol, the Hegel rune, the cross, and the sacred swastika. These symbols commonly represent the distinct fusion of male and female-like forces, a divine symbiosis that incepts the real magic of the lost world, first world Hyperborea, paradise. In this fallen world, there is an onslaught of propaganda that stems from a deep ignorance in relation to these topics, such as the rise of content that speaks to an evil reptilian race who live underground and are linked to a dark energy source called Vril. Most everything you hear about these topics in this mainstream is propaganda from the enemy to distort the truth of things. I believe this is all linked to the great mystery of the dragon, and the only way you can truly grasp any of it in its complexity is if you have awakened the truth through blood memory. That is, if it is part of your destiny. We still live in the distorted broadcast of the age of deception, and so it is rather easy to plummet into false narratives that are designed by the enemy to continue its reign of soul servitude and slavery.
The dragons are here. They have come to New York City. They've appeared in Grand Central Station. Their images have been seen on Rockefeller Center. They have been seen on the ballpark of Citi Field with the New York Mets. They've appeared even in Lower Manhattan near Ground Zero, in the financial district, on Wall Street, the New York Stock Exchange. They've even appeared at John's Pizzeria. They even have their own bagels.
The Dragon Revival is a Hyperborean Aryan revival, that which is prophesized and being conducted through Black Sun alchemics. This ancient force is connected to Lucifer, who this author refers to as the anti-Semitic angel. Really, Lucifer is the angelic, light-bearing leader of the Goths, of the Hyperborean gods trapped in matter. In this chaotic world of duality, you have the left and the right and the extremes of both polarities. However, the holy truth is in the center, a center that can only be reached through the heart, and therefore only through love, but more specifically, the love of Amor. X marks the spot, and the spot is accessed only through Amor. Our great Grail guide Miguel Serrano knew this, and imparted this gnosis to us to survive the intensities of the end of times in the finale of the Kali Yuga. As I write this final passage to complete this stream, I write in the aftermath of a right political win. And though the outburst of the radical left serves as most amusing, I want the comrades to understand the key role Trump plays in the exaltation of the false messiah. This can be further grasped if you just look up the prophetic words Jonathan Cahn, this messianic author, has left with Donald Trump.
June 14th, 1946. From ages past, it was appointed that on that day a scripture would be recited throughout the world. The scripture that was appointed for the day of your birth spoke of the bringing of God's vessel, a trumpet, into the world. President Trump, you were born into the world to be a trumpet of God, a vessel of the Lord in the hands of God. God called you to walk according to the template. He called you according to the template of Jehu, the warrior king. He called Jehu to make his nation great. Again,